contact is coming. They are preparing, they being these wonderful beings with good intention, are preparing to reveal themselves in a very third density, choosing to push themselves down into one of the most painful dimensions there is to exist within. And that's the dualistic plane of Earth's existence. I think that if you had 330 million people who believe that extraterrestrial life is here to support unity, it goes against everything that allows you to feel your semblance of power and control. And unfortunately, my country, they're terrified to lose control. I've gone from complete skeptic / slightly judgmental to holy shit, is this real, to having experiences almost every day, to then seeing David Grush come to, Congress and talk to the leaders in my country about what he has heard and seen and experienced, and then seeing how they treated him, how they tried to come out and leak that he's dealt with mental health. Once again, using mental health as a stigmatized conversation when we're trying so hard to destigmatize this.
The following is my conversation with AnnaLynne McCord. AnnaLynne is an American TV, film and stage actress with a long and extensive career dating back 2 decades. In TV roles such as 90210, The OC, movie roles such as First We Take Brooklyn, Excision, and her new movie Condition of Return. AnnaLynne is a kind and open soul who shares with me her take on the current UAP disclosure situation and her own experiences. I really enjoyed this conversation, and AnnaLynne was so easy to talk to. So, the following is my conversation with AnnaLynne McCord.
Good. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I love the content you're putting out there. And we need more and more and more of this conversation and language. So thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. It's very kind. Very kind. Well, let's jump straight in. Clearly, you have an interest in the subject. So I'm keen to know where did that all start? What first piqued your interest?
I do have an interest. It's interesting to me where I am versus where I was. I used to think that's a bunch of crazy people, and now I'm one of the crazy people. So turns out we're not so crazy after all. But I think it's really interesting. My experience was, I believe, very indicative of an actual personal experience, of many personal experiences, I should say. And I've definitely heard similar narratives from many people now that I am more open to my own awareness of existence has opened up, I should say. And as a result of that, I've been having more experiences. But I just watched Contact with Jodie Foster again 2 nights ago. And I haven't seen it since the Reagan administration. Like it's been a long time. And it was definitely before I had any awareness that, or any kind of interest, I would say, in the idea of extraterrestrials or anything in that realm of reality. And I watched the moment when Jodie's character gets into that seat and gets in the machine, and the acceleration of the machine's sacred geometric shape, which I think there's so much programming and coding in this amazing film. So whoever has watched it got a little download, whether they realize it or not, because the creators were very tapped in. And you see the machine, it looks like what in the world, in the third density, in the third dimension, would look like a malfunction, but is actually functioning perfectly in another dimension of reality. And so I'll preface my own personal journey by saying, I think that people have such a misunderstanding of how the experience of other life is actually experienced, because they're thinking with their third dimensional minds. So they want it to be something tangible. I can hold it in my hand and touch it and poke it. And that's not how it works. These other dimensional beings are on a vibrational resonance that are so far beyond us. It's like when you spin a top, right? And then suddenly you see less and less of the top the faster it spins until you can barely see it at all. That's what people don't understand about stories when they hear abductions and they hear all of these things, right? So I will tell you my journey. I was actually doing breath work. I was doing holotropic breath work, and I was in a holotropic breath work session. And I had been doing this pretty consistently. I have no idea about density and the system being heavier versus lighter. So I had a lot of emotional trauma in my body. So that made me really dense. And when I offloaded that, when I stopped eating meat, when I stopped eating dairy, when I started taking certain things out of what was going into this physical avatar body, I kept getting lighter and lighter and lighter. And what coincided with that was that I kept having spiritual experiences at a more heightened level. In direct relation to the reduction of my density, I would see a higher level of spiritual experiences in my mind during meditation, during breath work, during sound healing, all of these different modalities that I was using for the purpose of having a more healthy, well-being, a more healed life. I had no idea where I was going with this. And it certainly wasn't my intention because, like I said, I would have thought that I was a crazy person if I was intending to do this because I thought they were all crazy people. I am now happy to be cray. But I was in a breathwork session and I had given over to the belief in reincarnation. I was like, okay, I have memories of other lifetimes. This is something that I couldn't make the emotions that came with the memories up. Never mind the memories. I'm an actress. I can fake emotion all day long, honey. I cannot as an actress, and I think I'm not terrible. Like even as a not terrible actress, I can't get that level of emotion that quickly, that spontaneously. And I understand the realm and the spectrum of emotions to such an extent as an actress that you have to do a lot of work to hit a moment where you go from just normal conversation into hysterics or into a deep emotion. That's not something that you can do easily. It actually takes a lot of honing of the instrument that is the body. So I was having moments constantly, and they were all in line with Egypt and different lifetimes and connecting to like these ancient places that I'd never seen or heard of. So I certainly wasn't creating them. But I started to, in meditation, see this being that had these liquid laser blue eyes. And I thought that I just had this wonderful imagination because I'm an actress and, I've got worlds in my mind. So I must have made this up. And I go into a breath work, and this being looks like a pharaoh, but has liquid laser blue eyes, literally like as if it was just liquid, like not an eye with white around. The entire eye is just liquid laser blue. So I have no idea. And I think I'm the only person in the world that's ever experienced this, of course, because, it's all about me. So I have no idea what's about to happen. But at the time I was dealing with different parts of myself within myself. So I had the 6-year-old me, I had the 13-year-old me, and I was working on integration in my healing journey with these parts of myself. And I was in the breath work, and this pharaoh-y, otherworldly being with these laser eyes takes the hand of my 6-year-old self in my mind's eye in the breathwork session. And I how you sense the thought, the thought occurred to me but it wasn't originating with me. It was originating from this being, come with me. But the being's not saying it to me. It's saying it to my 6-year-old iteration of myself. And I'm like, excuse me, I want to go. FOMO. No, you can't take my 6-year-old version of me and not take me. And she's like, you can't go. So I definitely didn't think this to myself because I was angry. I was like, you're in my own brain. You can't tell me I can't go somewhere. I wasn't allowed to go. She takes the hand of my 6-year-old self. My 6-year-old self flies off into space, like in my mind. This is all happening, I think, in my imagination. But of course, why would I imagine something that I don't like? You know, I'm so mad over here, like in breathwork, pissed off, supposed to be healing. I'm getting angry. And the being comes back with my 6-year-old self. And now she has liquid laser blue eyes. And now I really want in, and this is bullshit. I am like, excuse me, I want liquid laser blue eyes. What's going on? So then she's like, you can't come. And I'm like, again, you're in my own mind. Like, this is insane. And so I'm so mad. I'm getting angrier by the second. She takes the hand of my 13-year-old self and she's like, she can come. I'm like, what? Okay, first of all, they're me. I'm gonna have their memories and I'm gonna know where y'all went, just so you know. So psych, I actually win this whole argument, but I'm still being left out. And this is just you getting a window into how defensive I am as a person. So I'm just sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry. But so she flies away holding the hands of my 6-year-old who clearly wanted to go back, and then my 13-year-old self. And I'm left here in my own mind feeling so mad that I'm getting completely gypped from whatever this experience is. And the 13-year-old self comes back, and of course, lo and behold, they all three have liquid laser blue eyes. And now I'm like, I want to go. Like, I don't know where we're going, but I am going. And then she says, now you can come. And I'm like, I mean, you know, like, it's like, I've been waiting for Christmas morning or something. I'm so excited. It never, any of my disbelief or any of my cynicism has gone away, because I'm just so curious now what's happening. And I take the hand, and suddenly, like, in my mind, again, still cluelessly thinking this is my imagination, no idea what astral travel is. I'm flying through space, and I'm like, oh, it's so pretty. I love meditation and breath work. This is so fun. My mind is so cool. And we come up on a very blue planet, and we more or less land, and there's all these blue beings everywhere, and the liquid laser blue light is everywhere. And we're not like, I'm like peeking over, and like, we're kind of the feeling of like not necessarily letting them know that we're there. This whole experience turns into 2 years of me journeying to this place, learning about astral travel, only to start working with a Reiki practitioner. And for her, I'm kind of embarrassed, like, well, like, I had this kind of funny imagination moment, and I'm telling her the story, and she goes, oh yeah, the blue planet with the blue beings, yes, it's Arcturians. And she starts telling me all of this stuff, describing what I was seeing in my visions for 2 years. So you can imagine, this is a very long tangent, but you can imagine that I went from very much a non-believer of any of this to someone who understood that what I was thinking would be an apparition of someone like you and me, fully dense, full, like, human avatar energy, walking around, stomping with feet, that's not all that. If they appear in that way, that's on purpose. That's actually a lot of work. They're in a density that's so light and a vibration that's so high that they're like that spinning top. They appear in our mind. The information that they transmit is into the mind like a thought, but you know it's not your thought if you ever experience it. It's not your thought. It didn't start with you. It didn't originate with you. And you'll find they say things you don't always like. So that's how I knew it really wasn't coming from me. I didn't create this. And now I have experiences of implants and all of these different things that are talked about, and people who don't know, they just don't get it. Like, they really, bless their hearts, like, and I understand, because I was one of them. I thought, this is crazy, implants from other beings, what? But what happens for me is when the beings come, and I'm the but why kid. And so I ask a million questions. I'm like, what are you putting into me? Why are you putting it there? What is it going to do? How does it work? And they're like, they're actually really amazing and really communicative, but there's just no emotion. They're just very like, yes. And then yes, we're putting this into your site. It's going to collect data and send it back to us. And And it's fascinating, because my body, at the point of insertion, my body will react, like jerk, and my face, if you're looking at my face, it looks like I'm in pain, but there's no actual feeling in my 3D body, and yet my 3D body is reacting to my etheric astral body receiving the implantation, or the implant, excuse me. So I've gone from complete skeptic / slightly judgmental to holy shit, is this real, to having experiences almost every day, and having beings come in through my body and communicating messages to me, and they're all love, they're all of this beautiful high vibration, they want unity on our planet, they're communicating all of these wonderful themes. And so I was getting to go down the rabbit hole of Dolores Cannon, and now I don't feel weird at all. Dolores Cannon has documented thousands, tens of thousands of hours of individuals, not unlike myself and perhaps you, who have seen every version of the spectrum of existence. But it's not the way we want it to be as humans in the third density. We're so desperate to have it touch, like be able to touch it and hold it. We have to realize that existence begins first and foremost, and it begins and ends in the mind. So when you release the density and are able to see this other mindscape existence, you are actually experiencing other beings, and then they give us the gift of materializing in our 3D atmosphere, and we get the experience of UAPs and all of that. So very long-winded explanation of my interest and what brought me to this world.
That's absolutely fascinating. Can I just rewind slightly? You sort of touched on the here to help, here to peaceful kind of side to it. In the certainly in the United States, in the Congress and the White House, and it seems to be this threat narrative that this is a threat, certainly a threat to aviation. This is a real threat to us, and we don't know. And everybody that I speak to, certainly that has had an experience in one way or another, has been very peaceful. It's been very positive on the whole. Why do you think, and I don't know if you've got an opinion on this, but why do you think that we're getting that kind of a narrative from the officials, whereas the people that appear to be experiencing this sort of thing, it's completely different. It's much more peaceful and positive.
Well, thank you for an amazing question. And I just have to say, Jim, don't you know that United States government and Congress are the smartest beings in all of existence across the entire cosmos? No one is smarter than them. No one has a bigger military capacity than them. No one can do anything better than them. So of course it would be a threat that someone knows something beyond their knowledge. How dare they? That's not okay. You know, I had to make fun of my wonderful country that I do love. But my God, the ignorance, the ignorance, the arrogance, they kind of like go back and forth between the two and sometimes just marry them together into one. It's absolutely remarkable, but it is also propagandized to an extent, because you can't control a community of human beings who are experiencing unity and love. You can control those who are in fear, in isolation, demoralized, and terrified by what could possibly be the unknown. That's way easier to control. And if you're a government with 330 million people who have a First Amendment like our US Constitution has, which is the right to freedom of speech, it can be a little scary to sit in DC and know that if we wanted to, we could come for you. And we could just stand there and stare at you with our hands, you know, our arms crossed, and look at you, and we'd be terrifying because of the numbers, just the numbers alone. And I think that if you had 330 million people who believe that extraterrestrial life is here to support unity, it goes against everything that allows you to feel your semblance of power and control. And unfortunately, my country, they're terrified to lose control. They're terrified to lose what they believe is power, because they don't know what true power is. And if they look back in time, just a couple hundred years, because we ain't that old. We're like one of the youngest countries in the world, and we like think we know everything like teenagers. We got countries like yours and others that have been here for a while, and they've seen season after season, century after century, and I think you guys kind of allow us to be the teenagers who are know-it-alls, which maybe you should cut that out. But there's so much to be missed with this kind of arrogance and this kind of ignorance, and the two are a dangerous combination. And when you're talking about the sightings, if you look at, and Dolores Cannon speaks to this quite a bit, but if you look at when sightings started to happen, meaning these extraterrestrials didn't get birthed in the 1950s and then suddenly were the most intelligent beings of all existence, except for America, of course. And they then started appearing. No, they appear when it is important that they are seen for a message to be conveyed. And again, me learning how to use the work that I do to navigate reducing my density. I communicate with my cells when I have beings coming in, and I ask my cells, please elevate, spiral the vibration higher and higher, like the spinning top, and elevate your physical vibration. AnnaLynne, I talk to myself like this. I literally say this: elevate your spirit, elevate your vibration to meet their vibration, to make it easier for when they're coming down to work with me, that I raise my vibration to meet with them, so that I have less density and it's not as hard for them to come all the way down to the third density. So, or even the fifth density, which is really, I think, fifth and sixth, where we're communicating, because they're still within my mind and not materializing. But so to the point of when they started really appearing, when we started seeing Roswell and, all of these different things, it was right after we were given the knowledge of a very powerful piece of sacred geometry, a dodecahedron, that two dodecahedrons would create atomic energy. And instead of using it for atomic energy, we used it to make atomic bombs. And very quickly, the intergalactic community was alerted to the fact that we were like a bunch of toddlers with a handgun, and we were going to they don't interfere. That's the law of the Galactic Federation, right? No interference, but they can intervene if we are going to do something that's going to tear the fabric of the universe and potentially harm the other planets and the other intergalactic beings' experience of existence. There is something that can be done. So they started materializing into our atmosphere. And what did my lovely government do, and many governments around the world? They said that people were crazy. They made me believe that people who believed this were crazy. I bought into their hype. Because the government's just batting 1,000. They're just so good at what they do, and they never lie, ever. But there were people who lost their lives because they spoke out about what they were seeing for decades. And then suddenly it's like, oh, well, yeah, aliens are real. What? You made people out to be lunatics. They lost everything. They lost their families. They suicided or had a one-car accident, and all of these things that we've heard about through the decades. And now you're just casually like, well, yeah, there's other stuff going on. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful that more disclosure is finally happening, and that people are seeing this on a global level. But it breaks my heart that it came at such loss, because it's the opposite of what the intention of these beings coming here was about, because they were here. And if I go back to the story of the kids in, was it Australia or New Zealand? I forget the documentary.
Yeah. There's one in Zimbabwe. I think there was a Zimbabwe case, and I think there is in South Africa.
South Africa. There was the school, and all of the children were like, they talk about being scared. And I think this is really fascinating. You talk about being scared, but the messages were really beautiful. Everything that they said, that the beings thought into their minds, telepathically communicated. And that's what when I'm talking with my friends and having conversations about this, and they're kind of stepping into their third eye opening and being more released of some of their density, and they're starting to have experiences, I say your nervous system, when a high vibrational being comes into your field, it will look like in your vitals that you're scared. So your heart rate will accelerate, your body will go into what seems to be panic. But if you won the lottery, your body would do the same thing. Your heart rate would accelerate. You would be, but in your mind, the story would be, I just won so much money. What's important is that the narrative around this is not fear-based, so that when our systems experience the higher vibrational beings and our heart rate accelerates really, 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 really intensely, we know that it's excitement, not something that we're fearing. And the fear has been put into us for decades by our lovely, wonderful governments that know everything. And that's the unfortunate aspect of the narrative being controlled by governments who they're afraid. They're really afraid that they're going to be the one that has egg on their face. And it's unbelievable the things that people do when they're afraid that they're going to be caught, unawares. And they'll go so far against logic and against truth and factual details to make up a story that doesn't actually benefit them in the end, ironically. For me, I think it's important that people are able to experience the average Joe having these experiences and speaking out. And that's why I love what you're doing, because this is allowing people from every kind of different background to speak about this, whether they've been in Air Force or Naval, they've had experience as being a part of the government, or they've been burned by a government, or they're an average citizen, me, like someone who's just really kind of didn't have an opinion here nor there. If someone would brought up like, okay, crazy, whatever, but we're not like super frustrated or annoyed or angry about it, just kind of dismissive overall, to then having my own personal experience, to then seeing David Grush come to, Congress and talk to the leaders in my country about what he has heard and seen and experienced, and then seeing how they treated him, how they tried to come out and leak that he's dealt with mental health. Once again, using mental health as a stigmatized conversation when we're trying so hard to destigmatize this. All of it just goes to show how little they know and how scared they are that they're possibly not the smartest people in all of existence. Yeah. But I think that's what's important right now, is that we're using personal discernment. And if you've ever had an experience with a higher dimensional being, with higher intelligence, or higher intelligent beings, I absolutely know that there's low vibration and high vibration, and there are beings that I check in. I always ask, are you from the highest vibration of love and light? Are you here for my highest good? They always answer yes, that they're here, to honor my divine timeline, my high vibrational intention for coming to Earth. And a lot of it is that we planned this. These beings and my soul self had a plan to come to Earth and be a part of bringing more love to the Earth. And because interfering is not allowed, intervention through a human body that brings more love and compassion to the world is a great way to help the vibrational resonance balance out. Right now, we have a war in the Middle East. We need more love than ever, because we're slipping ever closer to midnight, according to the science clock, of those fingers on those buttons for nuclear war. And that's what these wonderful beings are here to try to help us not do. And that's my own personal experience with the interactions I've had, and what I learned from all of Dolores Cannon's transcribed hypnoses of so many tens of thousands of people around the world.
Do you think that, the government are flirting with disclosure at the moment? Do you think we'll see it? Do you think it will be this is what we know. This is that piece of the jigsaw puzzle that you've all been kind of, not to say you all, there's a big chunk of the community that have no interest at all, I think. I guess the question's in two parts. Do you think that we're going to see that, firstly? And do you think that the majority of people will have an interest? Because people seem to be in their own bubble, and we've got the economy and wars abroad and all of these things consuming our kind of information online on our phones. Do you think it will have a broad impact on people in general if we do get disclosure? Do you think we're even going to get disclosure from the government?
Well, they're wonderful questions, and I think of the analogy of a friend who has another friend's best interest at heart and found out that that individual did something that they shouldn't have done. And they say, you can tell them, or I will. And it's a powerful place to be, which would make the other quite terrified and make that individual do one of two things: fully disclose, this being the government, being the one who didn't necessarily handle things appropriately, perhaps. So they're being given an option. I'm so sorry, but if they're highly intelligent beings, they don't need the approval of the wonderful United States government for them to disclose their existence. But they're waiting, and like very highly intelligent, mature beings, they're giving an opportunity, and they're saying, you are welcome to do this in your own time until time is up. And when time is up, if it has not been disclosed, it is my belief that it will be very obvious. And to the question of, will people care? Not only will they care, their entire trajectory of their existence will alter dramatically at the point of this occurring. And it is going to be the most beautiful, wonderful, transitional moment of tragedy and beauty colliding together, because it will strike terror in the hearts of people, and that terror will transmute and alchemize into love once they understand what's really going on. And that will happen very quickly, in my opinion, because you can say and do a lot when it comes to other people conveying information. But when you have a personal experience, people can't fuck with that, honey. And I genuinely believe that there's a preparation period right now. From everything that I've experienced and everything I've been told, contact is coming. They are preparing, they being these wonderful beings with good intention, are preparing to reveal themselves in a very third density, choosing to push themselves down into one of the most painful dimensions there is to exist within. And that's the dualistic plane of Earth's existence. It is not comfortable to be in the third density, period, for any of us. We get moments, right? But we dance between the duality of joy and sadness, happiness and pain, all the things. For a being who exists in these higher realms, they're not dealing with these themes at this level. So it's a gift that comes at a cost for them to lower their vibration. And to those who would say, well, if they're so intelligent, why do they crash? It's like, please, for fuck's sake, like, do a little bit of research and use intellect. But if you can find it, if you're lowering your vibration into a density that you don't ever frequent and you don't necessarily want to be in, you might lower your vibration too much and then make impact. When you're used to being at a dimension that allows you to move in and out of energetic experience, like walking through walls, because you are the vibration that allows you to be enmeshed with the quantum world versus Newtonian existence, then you have to navigate, and it's trial and error. It's not a perfection situation. It's a testing. So they've been testing for the last several decades. And I believe that there's no coincidence that we're now in the Aquarian age, and this is moving towards third density contact. I think that it is the easiest vibration comparatively to all the other constellations, all the other zodiac signs to be in. It's the easiest age for them to materialize into. And the need has never been greater. It is accelerating right now. And I think that I believe that when Trump declassified the first documents in 2020, it was immediate takeover, snipering information off of, I didn't find out for 6 months. Okay, kind of important detail. Aliens, y'all. Kind of ridiculous. I find out from a meme 6 months after he declassified the information. Tell me my news media is bought without telling me my news media has been bought. You know what I mean? Like, come on, boo. So I find out 6 months later. I felt like, completely like I'd been living under a rock. No headline news, no coverage. It was COVID. And then 3 years pass. And now we have David Grush. Now we have the US Congress. Now we have a conversation that's made it to headlines, but they're still trying to squash, the credibility around it, right? So I think that the importance of it will be because citizen journalists get on video, and trust me, these very intelligent beings, they ain't dumb. They know what they're doing. I don't know, will probably have a plan. That's what intelligent beings do. They plan things. So there will be a plan that those of us who are trusted in communication will be the most likely to have the 3D. They spun down, we spiral up into a density that allows us to connect, be visibly projected. They will visibly project themselves, which is what they're doing when they're putting themselves into this density. And those videos will go all over the world, and people will care. And I think, like I said, I think it'll change the trajectory of our lives as human beings forevermore. We will become Homo stellaris, as Roger Weir would say. Homo stellaris, we will become intergalactic humans overnight. And thank you to Elon Musk. You're an alien, whether you think they exist or not, honey. And he is manifesting into our world this next level of human being. So there are people who have communication, whether they realize it or not, I believe. That there are other parts of themselves that they may not fully have in their conscious awareness. They're doing the things that are necessary. And the little babies coming in, the little ones that are coming in, just wait. World, wait. I can't. I'm so excited for the next generation, because it is a departure from the nightmare that has been our need for violence and conflict and war. There's a departure from that coming, and it's because these little beings that are coming in are so high vibrational, and they're so connected. And if we're good conscious parents, we won't tell them that that's an imaginary friend. We'll say, tell me more about your blue friend that you see that mommy doesn't see. Tell me more. And that's how we'll open our minds to something that we already have access to. We've just forgotten.
I could ask you questions all day. I'm conscious of your time, and you've got such a unique openness, which is beautiful to see, and to, as somebody to talk to. It's fascinating. I'd like to talk to you again in the future. Hopefully, if if that event happens, maybe we can have you back on if you're happy with that.
I better be your first call.
Fantastic. Can I, just before I'm really conscious of your time, just before we sort of wrap up, are you working on anything at the moment you can talk about?
Yes, thank you for asking. I am allowed to talk about, I have two projects. One I'm allowed to talk about, the other one I'm not. I'm just going to say Dante's Inferno, and y'all can Google AnnaLynne and Dante, and good luck with that one. I'm not allowed to talk about that, but But I am this week actually. So last couple of weeks of October, we finally are going to streaming. We had a premiere last month of my film Condition of Return, and I think it kind of buttons this wonderful conversation right up because it deals with a woman who is what unfortunately so many of us have either seen or experienced firsthand or dealt with or felt ourselves. She is a victim of blind faith. And she, in a very different way, but it's all kind of the same, she is put in situation after situation after situation where her mental health deteriorates dramatically. She doesn't get care or treatment. She just is going through it the way many people try to buckle up their bootstraps and trudge on. And it becomes all too much. And she swings from faith in one entity into faith in another, and absent her own discernment, right? You know, when beings come in and talk to me, these extraterrestrial beings, I don't just take their word for shit. I'm like, oh my God, you spoke to me in my mind, so it must be true. No, I'm like, where does this information come from? What's the intention behind it? I ask a lot of questions, and then I go into my community. Thankfully, I have one who doesn't, who have been ostracized a lot by their families and friends, but we've all found a family within our group. And we all talk, and we're getting the same exact messages. We're getting the same exact information in 6 different places around the world. I've got a Swedish friend, I've got a California friend, I've got a Seattle friend, I've got a Brazilian friend. I've got a UK friend who channels Arcturian energy, and she's so powerful. But we all talk amongst ourselves, and bar none, over the last 3 years, we're getting the same information over and over again at the same exact time. It's coming. That's how you start to build a trust in it with your discernment. And with this character in my film, she doesn't use any discernment. And that's what religion, blind faith in anything, whether it's in your government, in an actual religion, in an extraterrestrial being who pops into your mind, and says hello and during a breath work, just buying into anything completely dissolves your sovereignty as a being. And this young woman in the film gives her sovereignty up to one entity that doesn't give her the answer she wants, so she swings the pendulum to the other side. And I think that we're seeing that in our world right now. We're giving over our sovereignty to the almighty algorithm. It said it on my algorithm, so it must be true. And if you don't believe it, you're evil. It's religion just regenerating itself every single time we swipe up or swipe down, whatever it is. So in the film, you see this young woman get to a point where the question has to be asked, who do you become? Who does she become when all these things hit? And she became a person who walked into a church with an AR-15 on a Sunday morning and shot 19 people in her own church. And this is a projection. The war, conflict inside our minds is what we will project into the world. And I'll just finish my very long-winded self. I'm Southern, so I don't know how to shut up sometimes, but I'll button all of this with what I think would be resonant for this conversation as a whole. And I'll extend it a little bit. This is a Lao Tzu quote, but Lao Tzu, dear, beautiful, wonderful Chinese philosopher, forgive me, but I'm going to add to your quote. He says, if we want peace in the world, we have to have peace in the nations. I'll say, if we want peace in the cosmos, we have to have peace in the galaxies, in the universes. If we want peace in the galaxies and universes, we have to have peace in the planets. If we want peace in the planets, we need peace in the world. We need peace in the countries and nations. If we want peace in the countries and nations, we need to have peace in the cities and neighborhoods. If we want peace in the neighborhoods and cities, we have to have peace in our home. And finally, if we want peace in the home, we must have peace in our hearts. We skip so many steps, hoping that war and conflict will end. And now we have other beings who are coming here to bring in what we are quickly depleting ourselves of, which is the vibration of love on this planet. We need their influence. I'm so grateful to them. I'm so grateful to the wonderful beings, not unlike yourself and your listeners, who are open-minded, who don't shut down something just because they don't know anything about it. They don't stay in their ignorant little mind circle because they can't fathom that they don't know everything. I'm so grateful to the open-mindedness to say, maybe I don't believe in this, maybe I don't understand this, but at least I can listen. That is the kind of energy we need in this world. Curiosity, openness, acceptance, and love. So that's Dr. Dan Siegel. So that's how I'll sign off, is let's focus on that peace in our hearts. Let's focus on liberation in our hearts, and we'll see it for our planet. And maybe we won't have to bother the intergalactic community to come here and rescue us from ourselves.
Well, what a beautiful way to end it. Thank you so much for that. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad that we've had the opportunity to talk. It's brilliant. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you so much for reaching out, and let's do that conversation in the future as well.
Yeah.